Hello, and welcome to the Guilbault Girls Show, where you will have the opportunity to hear from mothers, fathers, siblings, and individuals themselves about their journey of living with a disability. I know, it's called Guilbault Girls, but we have a bonus for you as we get the Guilbault boys to interview some of the dads and siblings and get their perspectives too. We'll also have special guests from time to time to share the many resources that are available to those living with a disability and their families. So get ready to laugh, smile, cry, maybe even get a little angry when you hear some of these stories of their day-to-day struggles. But let's not forget their many triumphs. As they say, it takes a village. And if it weren't for our village, we wouldn't be where we are today. So join us. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Guilbault Girls. Today we have special guests. We have Ashley and Mark Robinson and their son, Colton. So Mark and Ashley, they've been married for 13 years and reside in Massachusetts. They met in 2005 while both bartending at sister restaurants. Ashley now works in finance and Mark works in corrections. They have two children. Kadyn is the oldest and is currently studying biology at the University of Rhode Island. And then we have Colton, who's 12 years old. So thank you guys so much for jumping on today. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having us. It's a pleasure.
Awesome. So I want to kind of just dive right into it. And Colton, feel free to jump in too, because I don't want to like not talk to you, but I want to get your parents' perspective on it. And then when Faith comes in, we're going to tackle you. Is that okay? All right, awesome. And then for those of you listening to the podcast, you're not going to be able to see Sully, but Sully is their beautiful dog sitting up there, picture perfect there. So you can hop on over to our YouTube show and watch the show there. So, all right, so Colton has spina bifida. Can you tell us a little bit about your pregnancy, how you discovered that he had spina bifida, and like what was going on in your mind in those moments?
Yeah, so during our 20-week ultrasound, when we were going to find out if the baby was a boy or a girl, we found out it was a boy. But then afterwards, the tech was like, "Oh, the doctor wants to talk to you." So we had our daughter with us at the time, so they escorted the three of us into a room, and the doctor came in and was like, "Anything weird happen? Past 20 weeks." I said, well, I was in a car accident. It was like a little fender bender, but, and then he came out and said, well, it appears your son has spina bifida. Are you going to want to go through with the pregnancy, or are you going to want to terminate it? So we were really confused because we didn't know what spina bifida was. B, it was the way it was presented to us. It was almost like, this is good. So we just left the appointment very confused, worried, scared.
Yeah, and it was, when we were listening to all the information that was being thrown at us, we distinctly remember the Creed song in the background playing with arms wide open. And also with the ultrasound, we saw, what was it, the 3D picture? How they, was that the first one that we've seen? It was our first 3D picture that we got to see. It looked like a clay figure, but it looked like he was flexing his arm, which showed us that he was strong. And so it was really hard for us to even contemplate termination. I mean, we felt like it would just be way too hard to see that because we see what's available
already. Right. I couldn't even imagine. I had JD at 28 weeks, so I couldn't imagine like at 20 weeks having to be presented. Do you want to terminate? Like, that's like, wow.
Yeah, it was really hard. And, I remember, we were really, we were teary eyed and stuff. It was hard. We came home and, I was talking to my parents about the whole thing. It's supposed to be like a, celebration of positive news, finding out the gender, but that was on our plate, and it was really hard. But like I said, we thought of the positives and, just something we're going to have to truck through and see how it goes,
Yeah. And how about Kadyn? Did you have any hiccups or anything like that with her pregnancy?
No, just besides the morning sickness and her being a week late, but it was a very normal pregnancy.
Okay. All right. And Mark, can you explain to us what type of spina bifida he has? Because I understand there's more than just one type.
Yeah. From my understanding, there's three types of spina bifida. So the first one is spina bifida occulta. And basically that can be like a birthmark or like a dimple in someone's lower back. Sometimes it can cause progressive issues as someone gets older, or they won't have any issues at all. Then there's the second type is Spina Bifida meningocele. I'm not really sure of how that is, but Colton was born with the most severe type, which is called myelomeningocele. And so basically, when he was born, it had to be C-section because you can't damage the fluid-filled sac that's on his back that helps protect the opening of the spine. And basically, that fluid-filled sac, the best way that I can explain what it looked like is it looked like a jellyfish, almost like the top of a jellyfish. So basically what happens is there's nerves that protrude into that sac. So that sac is helping protect those nerves. So, many people that have spina bifida myelomeningocele, they don't all have the same issues that they encounter. It all depends on what nerves are affected, what nerves are protruding. And there's, how do you say it? There's different levels.
Yeah, so it could be different levels of spine.
Yeah, depending on how high up it is on the spine, it's more severe. I think Colton's is an L3.
Yeah.
So it's like the lumbar area. So it's on the lower back. So that morely affects for him like knees and down, and he has a neurological bladder, and stuff. So there's different things they have. What do they call it? Neurological bladder, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So again, if people that have like a higher condition up on their spine, that can affect a lot more other parts. But yeah, so that's the type that he has.
And what about surgeries? How many surgeries?
So that's right. So surgeries. So basically, they wait for the next day once he was born. They remove that sac and they close up the opening. And then he was also born with bilateral knee raise. So basically, his legs were like twisted up. So it's almost like his feet were up towards his chin.
Mm-hmm.
So his legs were like rotated up, going towards his chin. So he had to have numerous series of castings to help, get the legs straighter. And he ended up having a bilateral knee raise surgery. He had severely clubbed feet. So he's had numerous surgeries on his feet to help strengthen them. He wears AFOs to help the feet, be straight.
Mm-hmm.
He's had cord release surgeries. Hydrocephalus. Hydrocephalus is a fluid in the brain, and that comes along with a lot of children with spina bifida. So a lot of kids, they have shunts put in, but they can have, issues from infections and stuff like that. So there was a newer procedure that anytime you're shunt free, it's really, really good. So he was able to, he had a procedure called ETV. I forget exactly what it stands for, but it's the ETV, and basically there's no shunt, and they basically form like a hole or like a passage for the fluid to drain. And again, with no shunt and no infections, he's been having appointments and stuff to see if there's any change, and he hasn't. It's been the ETV procedure was a home run. So
That's amazing news.
yeah.
Colton, do you remember a lot of your surgeries?
No, not really. Oh, and he just had this past year he had a leg surgery, or last year I should say, a leg surgery, and then in January of last year he had to have another back surgery to release it. He had like what do they call it?
They call it tether cord. Sometimes as the child gets bigger, there's a lot of scar tissue that builds around the spine and the nerves. So obviously, if someone's getting bigger, they're worried about the nerves tugging and pulling, which can cause further issues. So they had to reopen. They had to go back in and basically cut away some scar tissue, a little bit of nerves and stuff to help as he gets bigger to not succumb to those possible issues.
Yeah. How many more surgeries do you think that he's going to have? I know with cerebral palsy, they say that usually most people with CP will have at least, 3 surgeries in a lifetime. Obviously, he's had a lot more already.
Hard to say. There's really no number that we know of. Again, he had at least four surgeries on his legs and feet because his left foot is keep twisting in.
Mm-hmm.
The past 2 have been more aggressive because I know the second to last one, they cut the leg bone to help rotate both feet. And then it healed, but then his left foot was getting severely clubbed again. So they had to cut away on his left foot, like a bone in the foot. And then they put some rods to help stabilize it and help it heal.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, they put a hard cast on it for several weeks. And so far, it looks well, but we don't know. I mean, if they could start twisting in again, I mean, it's hard to say. And then with his bowel movements, some kids that have issues with cathing or taking care of their bowel movements, sometimes they offer other type of surgeries to make it easier, for the person to go to the bathroom and stuff like that. Right now, it's hard to say, I mean.
Yeah. Especially you're still so young. You're only 12 years old. And we actually met the Robinson family back in 2019 when they were both in the Runway of Dreams fashion show in New York. And they were all modeling Tommy Hilfiger Adaptive. So that was like really cool. So ever since then, we've kind of just like kept in touch with them, and Ashley and I always go back and forth, and they're like such an awesome family. So so how is like your day? Tell people really don't know, and sometimes a lot of people take things for granted. Like, tell us what your day-to-day, what your day-to-day duties are, helping Colton out with.
Yeah, Mark works overnights, so during school week, I'm most of the time responsible for like getting him up, getting him dressed, and all that other stuff, and sending him off to school. I work at home full time, so it's really helpful. So I'm able to like get him off the bus when he gets home and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to like now that he's getting bigger and he's like really heavy.
Don't worry, Colton. It's a good thing. It's a good thing.
Yeah. So Mark does like the bathing and like all the other stuff.
So basically, so obviously in the morning, he has to get, he caths himself in the morning, and then he gets cathed again at school. And then usually he gets cathed again around like 4:00 before I put him on the toilet.
Mm-hmm.
And he has it's a device called Peristeen. So it's almost like an enema type device, because he can't he can't do a bowel movement. But the Peristeen, it's phenomenal. He's had little to few accidents after the Peristeen, so it basically just helps drain everything out. And he's usually on the toilet for like 45 minutes to an hour.
Mm-hmm.
And then usually have dinner, and then he caths himself again before bed, and that's basically his daily routine.
Yeah, Faith also has a neurogenic bladder, and right now there's no talk about it, but that's just, she had asked me, she's like, am I going to have to cath too? And I'm like, well, one day you may, I don't know. But right now we're just, as long as we're bringing her to the bathroom like every so often, so she doesn't have that incontinence and stuff too. Now, do you have do you end up getting a lot of UTIs? Because I know a friend of mine too who casts. A lot of times it's sometimes too late before you know it, and they have a UTI.
Yeah, he actually had one this week.
Yeah, he just got one last week, but actually he's usually pretty good with it. He's gotten, I think that was his second one that he's gotten in like months. So I would say on average maybe 2 to 3 a year, which is great. And he's never had a fever accompanied with the UTI, which they always worry about.
Right.
So usually he knows, we can tell when there's like some sediment in the urine,
Mm-hmm.
a little bit of blood, and he complains about, pain in his, bladder and his penis.
Mm-hmm.
But he's also on he takes a pill every day. It's like a Bactrim pill,
Mm-hmm.
Alleviate the bacteria in his urine.
Okay.
So, I mean, that's been really, really helpful. And he's on a couple other medications as well that he takes daily to help with the neurological bladder.
Okay. And how about your house? What adaptations have you had to do to your house?
So, originally when we bought this house, it was like a couple months before we got married. It was our starter home. Luckily, it was like a ranch style. So, when as Colton got older, we added a wheelchair ramp in the front of the house. Besides that, we haven't really done much to like kind of adapt. we are in the process of looking to make our bathroom a little bit easier for him. But it's not going to be our forever house, so we haven't really wanted to put that kind of money into it.
Right.
So,
Right.
but add the ramp.
Yeah, the ramp was the biggest one.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people don't realize too, I mean, we do have to make adaptations, and you do want to make things easier for your kids, you know, that it's not cheap, you know, and there's not a lot of funding out there to get it done. We did the ramp out front also, but what made us want this house, one, it was a rancher. And then 2, it had the handicap accessible shower, but it's still, I mean, it's just a regular shower, and it has the, you know, stand-up shower, and it has the rails on it. But, you know, we usually get her out and get her dressed and everything in there. And it's just starting to get, now that she's getting bigger and everything, it's like, there's not a lot of room in there, you know? And even our halls, because our house was built in the 70s. So our hallways are shorter. So her walker is constantly, so there's constant like marks up and down the wall.
Oh yeah, we're the same way. We have marks all over our doorways, the bottoms of the doors, all over the house because of his, you know, the way his last wheelchair was, the front wheels were bowed out. So his newer one is luckily like almost the width of the actual wheelchair.
Mm-hmm.
But that last wheelchair he had was a nightmare because we couldn't wait to get a new one without those front wheels that were going out, because basically everything in the house is marked.
Yeah.
At the lower, really bad. So
I put industrial corners on the corners of the walls, plastic ones, because with the walker, the way they build them, the bolts extend outward where they put the caps on. She gets hung up on in the drywall in the corner and gets hung and stuck on it. One, you know, the plastic one kind of protect the wall up, but it also allows her to slide, kind of kick off the slide, and keep going around the corner without getting stuck. So, yeah, a little bit of things here and there.
I hear Sully. Where's your other dog?
So we're gonna bring him out now because sometimes we had to bring Sully in our bedroom, so he's gonna be out for a little bit, and we'll bring Denver out now.
Okay, cool.
Either one getting jealous. Oh,
Right.
husky.
Oh, look at that. Right. So now everybody has to come on and watch the YouTube show because I have to see these awesome dogs. I
And
love
we just
the eyes.
stopped him in October.
Yeah, we weren't looking to have another dog, but we went to an event just, you know, for a good fundraiser, all you can eat barbecue, and it was by a brewery that had really good beer. So we went there, ended up falling in love with this dog and asked questions about it, and here we go. We never thought we'd get a second dog, but
Beautiful. He's absolutely beautiful.
so much. Thank you.
Are you hear Sully in the background?
Yeah, is Sully interrupting the
We
sound?
do. We do. Is there any way I know you can't stop him from barking because it's in the podcast. It will.
Yeah, when you do.
I'm gonna go bring him in the cellar.
Okay, so growing up, did you basically, I know we had a lot of surgeries, like OT, PT, speech, what kind of therapies did he have? How often did he go? And how did you juggle that?
Yeah, so he pretty much like all through school. Well, he had birth at 3, so birth at 3 would come, and that was to our house. And then all through school, you know, even preschool, everything, he would always have like OT and PT. Right now, he doesn't have anything though, and especially during COVID, he didn't have anything either. There was like no services. So right now, most of it was at school that he would get those services, but right now, like I said, he's not getting anything. So.
Okay. And what about school? Does he have an IEP or a 504 or anything like that?
So he has an IEP, and I think we've done one every year since he was preschool. So.
Okay. So let me ask you, so, and this kind of gets into the weeds of the developmental disability world and that kind of stuff, which again, you know, one of my point is too, to kind of see what different states have different resources out there for other people. So do you have any type of funding through the state for developmental disability? So like for here, as long as you have an IEP and you have your doctor's note and they, you know, they clearly have a developmental disability, they can get funding. We have what's called the low intensity support services, which is, it's pretty much a lottery, if you will, and you can get up to $2,000, and that can go towards like therapeutic horseback riding. It can go to adapting your shower. It can go to adaptive clothing. It can go for respite, you know, any type of thing like that. And then we also, we put Faith on the developmental disability waiver back when she was 7. And it was a long time coming. And she finally, her name came up when she was 17 years old. So, and at 18, she's going to get the services anyway. So, and I know every state is a little bit different. So how does yours work? And
yeah, I think I've been pretty bad at like researching that kind of stuff. I know like through the Spina Bifida Association of Greater New England, they'll give like $250 a year for whatever is needed. But I think at one point I was looking into like modification type stuff, but I really couldn't find anything for that. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I know like he was able to get like a special bicycle through what's the organization's name? Celebrating or Challenge to Athletes or something like that.
okay.
Yeah, he got a bicycle. He actually plays wheelchair basketball. He was able to get a beautiful wheelchair basketball. So, stuff like that we've been able to get.
Right.
Yeah.
You should really start looking into it, because then if he needs home health or if he needs aids later on as he gets older to help with anything, like all of that comes through. Or if you're working and you need somebody to come and, he has more dexterity. Do you have any fine motor delays or issues, Colton? Like writing or like cooking or pouring yourself a drink or anything like that? So Faith has all of that. So she definitely needs someone in. But those services are great because we're able to get respite. So we have somebody come in the morning and help with personal supports. We have, they can take her to doctor's appointments. They can, help her with her hygiene or getting food or, any of that stuff. And again, with the other grant, we used to use it every year for therapeutic horseback riding. So now she can't get that because she has the waiver. So we do pay that out of pocket, but still. So you should definitely look into see what else is out there too. So when you guys got married and you had kids and then you had Colton, did you lose any of your friends per se when you had a special needs child? Because then your life was thrown into that because you were, running to all the appointments and the surgeries and that kind of stuff. Did you ever feel like you've kind of?
No, I think, if anything, we've actually met like a lot of really cool people.
Right.
We have a very super supportive friend group. I would say we kind of keep our circle small anyways. Mm-hmm. So we have like really great supportive friends who are like family to us. So we've been lucky enough not to, lose out on any friendships or anything like that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we have great neighbors who are friends. Mark's best friend literally lives 2 doors down from us. So yeah, we have a good friend group.
That's awesome. So what advice would you have to moms and dads out there that are just finding out and getting this diagnosis? What would you say to them? What advice would you give?
It can seem overwhelming at first, you seem lost. You don't know what's going on, how this happened. But, there's a lot of doctors out there and new, not experiments, but there's technology has just gotten, so amazing over the years that, you're going to worry, but there's definitely, there's a positive light at the end of the tunnel for these children because of just the technology and the doctors that are just, now these days compared to, years ago, so, there's, it's hard, but, it's a positive movement,
Yeah.
And like advocate for yourself and your child too is huge. Always get a second opinion if you mother's instinct, like if something didn't feel right, like I always felt like he had tethered cord, just from stuff I read, and his first doctors didn't say he had it. He said, no, it's fine. And then we had a new neurologist because his first one retired, and they're like, oh yeah, it was pretty severe. So, always get that second opinion and go with your intuition because, it'll help you, get better care for your child.
Absolutely. So I also emailed you guys about choosing a word, and something that's meaningful for you, something that you can look down and see as a daily reminder. Maybe it's something that, got you through your tough times, or something that, a goal of yours that you want to achieve, or, anything. So I hand stamp them on tokens, and I put them on bracelets and necklaces, and gift them to everyone. So I wanted to see if you guys would be willing to share your word and why.
Yes. Colton?
We'll do Colton's when Faith comes in, because we have a separate interview with him.
Mine would probably be fearless. The reason I choose that word is because, life can be very scary. There's like a lot of stuff that is constantly going on, like whether it's like personal or current events within the world. So I would choose fearless, just to have that reminder to always be, strong and stuff like that. So that would be my word.
I like that. And how about you, Mark?
This crazy dog.
There's a few times I'm like smiling here. It's not because I'm watching the dogs.
No, I know. It's so adorable. Now
it's having your child.
Yeah, it's having two little. So,
it's between the kisses and the suckling scope tail going by.
We apologize about the dog.
Oh no, that's great. It's great.
It's life. It's real life. This is what this show's all about. Talking about our real life. So, what's your word, Mark?
My word is it's a word that I've always loved from years back. Just to never give up. So basically, perseverance.
Mm-hmm.
Always strive, even if it's difficult times, and just always, even if you're unsuccessful the first time, just never give up and keep trying. So perseverance is an awesome word, in my opinion.
I love that. And I didn't put this in here, Ashley, but I did wanted to touch on, you've gone through a lot yourself over the years and have had surgeries. Would you be willing to share a little bit about that?
Sure. So about 8 or 9 years ago, it was 2013. I was getting like these really weird like headaches and stuff like that. And I like blurred vision, just feeling numbness. Numbness, like feeling completely off. So I made Mark take me to the ER. And they said it was Bell's palsy or something like that. I was like 33 years old. So I went to another ER, and it was the same thing. They sent me home. They're like, it's fine. You're fine. Go home. Follow up with your doctor on Monday. So I woke up in the middle of the night with like sharp pain in my head. So my husband took me to another ER. And they actually did imaging and stuff like that. And come to find out, I was diagnosed with a rare brain disease called Moyamoya. And what it is the blood vessels in your head get like cut off, and they form new blood vessels to help spread blood in different areas that you lost. So I was in the hospital for a couple days. My dad was like, you need to get out of there because they don't know what they're doing. So I went to Boston, and I ended up having my first brain surgery in Boston about 10 days after getting diagnosed. That following year, I was continuing to have like seizures and still stroke-like symptoms. I kept going back to the doctor. And this is where advocating for yourself really came into play, because I had to keep saying, I'm still not feeling well, still have numbness, like I'm not myself. He kept saying, oh, you're fine. It's going to get better as the year progresses. So I sent my imaging out to Stanford in California to Dr. Gary Steinberg. And he's one of the best surgeons for Moyamoya. And they actually have a Moyamoya clinic. So about a year later, I ended up flying out to California and staying with my family for about a month. And I had my second brain surgery, which has been successful. I get imaging every year. It's looking good. And so far, it's just my right side of my brain, not my left. So, that was a really challenging time because, my kids are still little, both only 4 or 5 years old. But we're really blessed with really great family support. So, that was really, really helpful, especially for him since he was, pretty much alone with the kids for a month. So,
yeah. Yeah, that's a lot. Well, thank you for sharing, because I know that you always post on Facebook and, want to spread awareness about it and stuff. So I think that's important to share. Okay, well, we're going to go ahead and wrap up this episode with Ashley and Mark, and we're going to bring Faith in. So stay tuned for the next episode with Faith and Colton. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us as we spread awareness through our personal stories and the many resources shared. You can help us by joining our village simply by sharing our show to the masses. If you would like to support the Guilbault Girls on another level, click on the link in the show notes to make a donation in any amount. Add your address and you'll receive a hand-stamped token with the word village on it in appreciation. Be sure to subscribe to our Guilbault Girls podcast and YouTube show, and don't forget to follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Guilbault Girls. Till next time.